All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Okay. I did receive, really quick, I'm just gonna comment. We did receive an email, is in our packet from a resident. Just really not being happy with the water issue in Lowville in regard to the, I believe it's in regard to the conserved water. Also concerned with the possible water issue resulting in 6 houses newly for sale in the last month or so. They do question craft. But I think we all have this here to read. I also had someone come up to me last night at an event and informed me that they are not opposed to the increase and that our water is extremely reasonably charged for that service, and that they understood why we had to do such things and they were on board with it. So obviously we've had 2 conflicting people reach out to us, so I would open up the public hearing to anyone. Absolutely, Carol.
No, my name is Carol Libaker. I live in the village of Lowville. I live on Cascade Avenue. I've lived here in the village of Lowville 30 plus years. The thing is that I know we have businesses come and everything else to help out the village, but the thing is, like I said before, I approached you all and I told you, you can't let big business always dictate. And also the thing is that, like I said, 3 months ago, our water bill wasn't supposed to go up, but now, since we have a problem with filtering enough water, we taxpayers are told our water bill could possibly go up 10%. In which I'm sorry to say, after Kraft Heinz got their new line in, they use a lot of water. In my opinion, everything to do with water usage for Kraft Heinz wasn't looked into properly. Especially when you're going to a big company like that and the village or anything else. We're so old with our lines and everything else. Over the past years, we've had problems over where double clay is and stuff, how many times that roadway had been fixed and everything else. It's just the idea, it's getting tougher and tougher, and the thing is that us taxpayers, from what I can see and where I work, we're always looking at big business and we're always giving to big business. And I know, Mayor, you don't want to be known as the mayor that booted out Kraft Heinz, but you've got to start thinking about the people. You've got a lot of projects in the planning, and it's getting tougher. And then over at Kraft Heinz, yes, they may have employed 125 people, but they're not, a lot of them are not full-time employees. It takes them quite a while in order to get to be full-time employees. And they're having and I've been talking to some of the employees that work there, they're having a hard time finding people to even work there. So I'm just saying, you need to look into all aspects. When companies come in, we're going to put a new line in, we're going to promote, we're going to do this. You've got to look at everything. And as a taxpayer, I put my trust into all of you to make the proper decisions. The reason why I have been to a lot of these meetings is because I'm getting very upset on what's going on. And a lot of people that I have talked to, other people that are in, they don't come to the meetings is because they say that I don't think that the board is really listening to them. And I'm going to tell you another thing. We are a laughing stock. The village of Lowville is a laughing stock because I'm going to tell you, other villages, they're saying, how could the board allow this to happen? We look really dumb. And I says, well, I put my faith in the board. A lot of us did. But I know we're trying to promote business, but you've got to protect us taxpayers. And I just don't, I mean, I don't mind paying higher taxes and stuff, but I want to see something for my taxes. And there's another thing I wanted to talk to you, but we were talking about for the water, but there's another issue that I want to discuss too, but I can't right now because we're talking about the water. So that's all I have to say.
Okay. Thank you, Carol. Other public comment?
Question, is this going to go to a public vote, the increase in the water rates?
This is a public hearing.
Yeah, does it now go to a vote, or tonight will be it? And
I think the board votes tonight unless,
It's up to the board to make the decision. It's not something that would normally go to referendum, right? So it would not normally be a public vote on water rates, part of what you do with budgets.
could it go to a referendum?
I have to look. I don't think so, but
I know, but-
I didn't research that before.
Okay.
No.
No public vote, no, not on the increasing rates. A referendum is something that could possibly happen to get public vote. Mark said that he has not researched that in regard to the increased rates. That typically happens with maybe bigger projects, and spending money is a lot more common with a referendum from my experience, but I don't know if I'm even talking correctly.
So it's up to this group right in front of us to make that decision.
Correct. Yep. Yes, Chris.
Hi, I'm Chris Monick. I'm not here to agree or oppose on anything. I guess I'm just here to get some information. The rate hike, would it simply only be the Village of Lowville, or would it be anyone that's using the village water, like the outside
All users on our
districts?
entire system.
Okay, so it would be the entire system. Was that also true for the conserved water?
Yes.
Okay.
Yep.
Okay, so their rates would increase as our village rates would also increase?
Correct.
Okay. So one other simple question, and I am not here to put down any business or anything, because I think it's wonderful. I'm curious as to, is it only the Village of Lowville that is responsible for the water for Kraft, or is there some way that, I mean, obviously, we are very lucky and very fortunate to have that business here, and I would not want anything to ever jeopardize that. But is there anything, why is it only the Village of Lowville and not Lewis County taxpayers? I mean, certainly, has anybody ever checked into why is it only the Village of Lowville?
Because the village is the entity who owns the water supply.
Okay, so that's true to any business in the Village of Lowville.
Correct.
Can I make a comment, Chris, to that? One thing I will tell you, 15% of what you pay for water right now is because we are taxed by anybody outside, because our water system, most of it is outside our corporate boundaries. And hopefully the county, although we've waited quite a while, is going to relinquish their share. And we're paying about 52,000 of that 150 to them, or whatever that figures out to, 30, 35, 40%. So for every dollar that you pay, 15% goes to taxes before you drop a dollar. One of the things I took the arduous task of doing, and I've got a few copies here for anybody that wants them, was Pam gave me the figures for neighboring communities. There's 10 of them, or 11 of them here. And even with us increasing the water, I don't think probably anybody, I didn't know how much a gallon of water cost me a day. It costs me, if we do the increase, half a cent a gallon, okay?
So that's what we would be paying.
You're paying a little, slightly less than half a cent, 4.5. So if we raised it, the average user in Lowville uses 35,904 gallons a year, just a hair under 100 gallons. If we increase it, the average user on 4,800 cubic feet a year would be 50 cents a day, from 45 cents, or 183.06. So for 100 gallons, that's a cigarette or a third of a cup of coffee. So, you know, I looked at it from that standpoint, and I'm saying, and I hear Carol, one of the ways that we need to be able to do the things that need to be done to the plant. And as corny as it sounds, because our rates are so low, our scoring mechanism for grants kills us every time. And the reason I believe that is when government looks at giving grants, they say, well, they're looking for us to subsidize them, right, wrong, or indifferent. And so I took a look at this, and from Lowville to Village of Clayton is paying $1.26 a day for the same figures. Their average water bill would be $458.62. Your average water bill is going to go from, I think, 160 something to 183.06 a year for the person that's using 4,800 cubic feet. Now, obviously, there's people using more and people using less. And right now, Kraft is using about 60 to 70% of that, so the major increase would go to Kraft. But that study is here that I took the time to do, and anybody, there's not enough copies here. I'll keep one, and I'll make sure that anybody that wants one can get one, but I took the time to do it, and it's all laid out there for anybody that wants it.
And again,
Do
I
you have other
certainly wasn't,
questions?
I wasn't questioning at
absolutely.
all any of that. I was just wondering how it was, where it was, if it was just the village or if it was just all of the water. And I'm
Nope.
certainly not opposed. I mean, I do, hey, I'm like Niagara Mohawk. Everybody craps about the Niagara Mohawk bill, but if I have to go and if I'm out of breath, I would give anything to turn on the switch and take a hot shower or anything. So I totally understand that.
Yeah.
I was just questioning.
Yeah. Do you have any other questions? Because
No.
obviously we'd be happy to educate of what
Yeah,
we've.
I'm playing dumb because I don't really know.
Yes, Eric.
Dan, thank you very much for, I think, some of the information you just shared. If I could just follow up on that. So the average user in Lowville is about $160 a year?
If we do the increase, yeah, I'll give or take a few dollars. If we do the increases, the increase, I think, created a $17 a year increase for the average user.
So $20 or less. And you've looked at some other surrounding municipalities and their rates, I'm going to guess,
They're
are
on-
significantly higher.
They're on this sheet
So
right
you've
there.
all looked at that. I was on the road today and I failed to fill my own bottle of water, and I paid $1.20 at Stewart's for a Poland Spring 16-ounce bottle. So if I do that 10 times a year, I could have saved myself that $20 increase. That's pretty simple. My own problem. I spent my own money. I could have spent it on my water bill. Our water system has been here for Charlie probably knows this, 120, 130 years.
He was here.
I was here. I was a little younger then,
He was baptized out of this history.
and I didn't have a cane either.
Sorry, Eric, I interrupted.
That's when he danced into the room.
Long-term maintenance and repair and improvements are the village water user's responsibility. Kraft Heinz has been here for 40 years.
About
So
75.
whose responsibility is it? Is it all Kraft Heinz's, or is it all of the users? And I think one other thought or a question, and you don't have to answer it, but have you looked at the history of our water rate increases? My guess is over 20 years they've been very small.
I
The
think
last increase was 2012.
And prior to that, very, very few probably over the last 20 years.
I know there was one in '99.
Do you know that, Pam? I think it was twice since I've lived here, and I moved here in '99.
And one of your board members, Mr. Brickler, Mr. Mosier, said that he felt that the senior citizens of the community should pay their fair share. I'd like to relay that there's one rate for all. We don't discriminate between somebody that's 65 and somebody that's 25. So when he made the comment that the senior citizens need to understand and pay their fair share, I still don't know, and I'm waiting for an answer from him to this day, to be quite honest.
I think those are my comments at the moment.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Any other public comments?
I have a question. My
Absolutely.
name's Mike Strafe. I live in East State Street. For Tom, how well is the system working now? Can you give us a little progress report? I know we added filter, portable filter. Are we keeping up?
We actually, Mike, we talked about that before you got here, before the public hearing started. So, yeah, the new system is online and operational, and it's filtering 800,000 gallons a day, and we are cleaning our sand filters. We didn't clean one last week, as you can imagine, with the rain that we had because of the turbidity that we get. So, but yes, the system is keeping up. We've had a few problems with one particular piece, an air compressor, $2,000 air compressor. And they've been here to maintain it or do work on it 4 times. And this 4th time they brought a brand new one up and put a new one in. Because it's doesn't do them any good to have to come here to do the minor maintenance.
My
So yes, it
understanding
is working.
I'm sorry. No, my understanding is You needed to put in 463 phase,
Yeah. 480.
and is that in the works, or?
I am happy to say that National Grid installed the power 2 weeks ago. The fastest I've ever seen National Grid get anything done. And they did it for the village of Lowville. So it's, yes, it is installed. They installed the pole, brought in all the wire, upgraded the tubs. So we have, yes.
So based on your experience with the additional sand filter or the additional filter, going down the road future-wise, what do you see that needs to be upgraded? So apparently the infrastructure that's under the ground from Watson, the watershed up there, is large enough currently to handle future expansion? Or-
Yeah, we have 2 lines.
Okay, so how do you see what needs to be done?
So our issue was a filtration problem.
Yes.
It wasn't ever, we don't have enough water. We couldn't filter it fast enough. That was the issue.
And allow it to be treated long enough before it went into the system.
Do we have a plan in place so for long term? We can't have a portable filter forever. What's the plan? Is there a plan?
This portable filter, this exact portable filtration system, I have seen become permanent, in place. The way it is right now, could possibly become permanent. The other townships have done it. I can't think of the township that it is. Jeff, do you?
Wasn't the same exact thing, but they
Yeah.
built a plant
Yeah.
with the same technology.
Yeah.
Do you have any cost on keeping it?
Well,
Or
we're
Working
in
on it.
that process right now,
Okay,
Mike.
all
We're
right.
working on that.
Okay.
And we would like to see how this system operates, see what the operations and maintenance of it is over the next 2 to 3 months. Now we'll have a really good idea of what it might cost to operate it. We could possibly purchase it outright.
No, we bring a new one in, right, Don?
The one that's there is brand new.
Oh, it is new. Okay, I was under the impression it wasn't.
Municipal board came up and saw it last Friday. I took 3 people up and they walked through it and they were shocked, pleasantly surprised.
So you feel keeping it would solve the problems, or would continue it,
This could be a long-term solution, yes.
and would give us additional capacity?
Yes, it would.
We can still utilize it to filter more water if we had more water to filter.
So we're able to now filter our maximum permit allowance from DEC, which is 1.5 million. 1.6 is our withdrawal permit. We can only filter 1.5 million. With the system that we have and the existing sand filters, we could exceed our permit limit. We won't, of course, because we'll be exceeding our permit limit.
Thank you.
Well,
Just to back up too, Tom, and kind of what Mike was asking, like as you said, we can buy a portable type system for a long-term answer, but before we got into this crisis mode, we were looking at potential plans with the engineers as well, but we decided to go this route, correct?
correct.
So
We had 2 options.
Right,
We could haul water,
right, that was,
or we could bring in this filtration system, and the decision was made by a joint meeting of the municipal.
but the
board of
long-term ones
trustees.
too were things like buying, adding beds.
Long-term, right, long-term was adding a slow sand filtration bed, a quick sand filtration bed, or the micro filtration system. When you look at speed, cost, and what else?
Operations and maintenance.
Operations and maintenance. This really probably is the best solution. When you look at adding on another sand filter bed, it was gonna be $2.5 million, I believe,
2.2.
something of that nature.
Just the concrete tankage for the sand beds was 2.2 million.
This unit itself, brand new, I'm gonna say is 1.5,
1.1.
1.1.
Had this board not pulled the trigger when they did, there would not be a unit available because everyone that they own in their fleet is in Texas and Florida.
So obviously we as the board have been tasked with some quick decision making. Try to do so very reasonably as well with costs associated with that decision making. And we did this interim, but it really, once we started looking at 3 different types of filtration, and the initial thought was, well, let's just add on to what we currently have because our plant was built to add on more beds. That really does not look like it should be the best option for us. After we dug a little bit deeper and a couple days later. So, yes.
But isn't it that you had in the news that for us to rent this equipment, it was going to cost us anywhere from $400,000 to $500,000 a year for the year? That was in the paper.
$30,000 a month. So that'd be $360,000 for the year.
Because it said in there $400,000 to $500,000. That said in the paper.
I'd say maybe maintenance and getting piping hooked up to it appropriately and things of that nature.
There's a lot of logistics that were involved. We had naturally a cost from National Grid.
I'd say National Grid to run the power.
Contractors' costs, we had to install pumps, we had all the labor involved.
What's the buyout again, Tom, if we decide to buy that? The penalty for the lease, if we decide in 3 months we want to buy it?
Not much.
Do you remember, Mark?
I don't remember.
I don't remember.
I thought somebody said $3,000 or $4,000.
Yeah. It was cheaper for us to lease it for a year than it was to lease it month by month. There is also an out in the lease where we can opt to terminate the lease, possibly purchase the equipment. That's kind of where we're at this point, is asking them, what if we wanted to own this unit? That's the conversation, just this week of, could what we've paid you go toward the purchase of this equipment? Could we rent to own? Could we, there are many different aspects of this. If we wished to rent it on a month by month basis, excuse me, it was $45,000 a month. So we're already, by just signing that lease, even if we only use it for 6 months was our thought, we're still saving approximately $10,000 to $15,000 per month in the grand scheme of things.
Because I know that the county would like to put that industrial park. And a few meetings that I have come,
Correct.
they wanted to go from 20,000 per day, they want to go to increase to 200,000. So I'm just saying, as we're talking,
Right.
the increase, are we going to be able to, for capacity, that we don't have to, a more expense? That's what I'm thinking of the future.
Correct.
Is it going to, because where I work, we have our own water filtration. Like I brought it up before. We were up at 100,000 gallons, and I work at Nina Paper here in Lowville. And we've got our own water filtration, and we went from 100,000 per day to 15,000 gallons.
Right.
So I'm just saying, my company's done their part to
Right.
help out. And I'm just saying, and I know the county wants to put that industrial park, and the things that we have been fighting with the county for taxes on that watershed.
So, Carol, this plant and the sand beds that we have could do the treatment we have right now and handle the industrial parks or the commerce parks. Ask for 200,000 gallons. It could.
It could?
We cannot take that much out of the ground.
Okay, that's why I just want to make sure.
That's a
just-
DEC submission and approval.
That's
We
the
need
one
to
thing
have
that all
further
of us are
studies
kinda
done.
wondering.
It can filter that much, yes.
Okay, so you're saying with what the county wants to do, add on and everything else, for any progress or anything like that, that we can handle, the capacity would be up to 200,000, I mean, 2 million?
Two things we're talking about, filtration.
That's right, that's one.
We don't have, if they want 200,000 gallons of water tomorrow, we can't pull that much from our watershed. We're only permitted 1.6.
Okay, but I'm just saying, with this filtration that we've got now, could we do it?
If we needed to and we had permission to, yes, we could.
Okay,
Yep,
but no problem, that's what I'm saying.
yes. Because this entity alone has a capacity of 200,000 more gallons per day. And we've also had our sand beds offline, rotating them through. So we're not even, usual, even though they're slower filtration, we could still have capacity to utilize them and pull from them as well. Yep. Did I answer your question?
One other question.
Yes, sir.
With the 10% increase, did anybody do any projections to the additional revenue? I'm sure it was in a paper somewhere, but I must have missed it.
Close to 100,000.
Is it, I thought it was 80,000. Do you remember?
95.
Oh,
If it's-
95, yes.
What we've estimated, it's on
10%.
consumption. We can't project consumption, but if we go off from the old numbers, 958,683.31 gets us to 10% of that's 95,000, about almost 96,000.
96,000.
That's not, correct me if I'm wrong, Pamela, that's not what the increased water that Kraft is using. These figures are.
On the old numbers,
Right.
based on 2016 and 17.
So
We can't.
they're using-
You guys want to tell us how much you're going to use in March of next year?
No, but for the last 3 months, they've been using more,
I know,
so
I know.
we're gonna be able to
That's a
use that
projection,
towards.
is my point.
So you're saying around 96,000?
Correct.
On a
That
10%
doesn't
increase.
sound like a lot of money, does
It doesn't. Well, it's back to his cup, half a third of a cup of
It
coffee.
essentially would take us 3 years to make up for paying what we plan to put into filtering water in the next 6 months. But it's a start, and, if we have some money in reserves that we can use, that's what we're hoping to be able to do a little bit of. It's there for a reason, and we'll see what happens. Yes, Dick?
Don, it's my understanding of that 95,000, about 80% of that is paid for by your larger users, such as your industrial users, the hospital, the county, that type of stuff. So 80% of, so you're looking at $20,000 being picked up by the quote taxpayer or the small user people, which is a pretty small amount in my eyes. Just so somebody doesn't
Yep.
think the taxpayers are the low users, they're getting the whole $90,000.
No, essentially, whatever water you use,
Yeah.
that's
Yeah.
that would be your 10% increase.
If I'm looking at this accurately too, if we just look at the users in the village of Lowville who were elected to represent, it's just under 40,000 in May of 2017. Is the, of that 958,000 figure. That's what it looks like here, if it's broken down the way I understand it to be, the other users being Martinsburg, New Bremen, Watson. And industrials in a different ballpark, which they're billed monthly too, correct, Pam?
Yes.
So that's why we're seeing December, January, February numbers for them.
$18 divided by 365 days is 5 cents a day. For the average user. Some are gonna have more, some are gonna have less. If
So
we
5
vote
cents a
this in.
day is
They're
not.
paid less than a quarter.
You're paying 50 cents a day, so. And I'll still drink my cup of coffee at Lloyd's and have my soda at Gary's.
Absolutely.
You've got enough caffeine, you don't need-
The totals for our water, just so you know, for the 2016-17, our water costs, or water that was paid for, was under $1 million. $958,683.31. I mean, we none of us sitting here, I think, wish to increase rates. But, you know, we also, when is the last time we did a project in this village for infrastructure? Who can answer that question for me?
This summer,
There you go.
Well,
we reconstructed
Railroad Street.
And we installed infrastructure.
right, before that.
Last summer, we did Ross Road and River Street.
Mr.
Before
Sharp?
that. I mean a big project, you know,
West
we
State Street
have,
and
we have,
East State Street.
Change your question, Mayor. When was the last project in your water system?
the water filtration plant in
1996.
1996.
Does Dank run the Village of Carthage's water system? Just for an example, the Village of Carthage right now is $233.28 a year for the average user, 64 cents a day. So we're even if we vote the increase in, there's still $50 more a year. A lot of this doesn't sound like a lot, but as you can see, in the North Country, I'm guessing even the worst is probably better than a lot because water is fairly abundant and
Is Watertown on there?
Town of Water, yes, hold on just a minute. They're second. Town of Watertown, they almost had us beat with the increase if we voted in. They're at $191.36 or 52 cents a day.
You said that it didn't mean too much, and also the comment about the senior citizens, I'm not gonna go on, and like you said, there's no different plan for different age groups or whatnot. But when we increased rates in 1999, I was just joining this board, and I ran into a person on a fixed income, senior citizen, who wasn't happy about it. And I was a little befuddled because it was the same sort of an increase. It wasn't really that much at that time, the percentage or what it amounted to. But we're here to protect the taxpayers, every one of them, and it's a little bit of a, when you crunch these numbers, Donna, you're right, I'm not for increasing the rates, but oddly, it doesn't make a lot of sense probably to the average person. We're protecting the taxpayers by the increase because most of them are not being affected as high as the industrial users. The people who use the water the most is going to be the ones who pay the burden of the bill. So I just wanted to bring that kind of analogy up to it, that we're kind of all in this together.
Yep. One quick thing on water infrastructure upgrades. We did do one in 2012, and that was a major transmission line was replaced that went under the Black River, and that was well over 100,000, I believe.
Correct.
So there has been some work done since '96.
State mandated.
Right, it was boil water we were in then. Is there any other public comment in regard to this issue?
Just one quick question again, sorry. It's
Yes,
just for
please.
information.
Nope, that's okay.
Will these new rates help us get any closer to the grant rates that are needed?
Oh, no. We would have to pretty much, I think, quadruple our rates to be in
That
the,
just was interesting.
like the entire, we would have to 400%
We're still
our rates.
We're, at the 10 towns, the bad news is we're still at the bottom, so probably all things being equal, Larry, in a scoring mechanism, we're going to come in 10th or 11th. Of course, I think they take median income, and I also did that, but I decided not to put it on this chart. And our median income in the village of Lowville, believe it or not, is better than most of these other communities. So I can see why we're goofed when it comes to getting a grant. I understand it now. I didn't really grasp it all until I started looking at this.
Thank you.
You know, when who was it? The guy with the red hair when we were up at the county office that one day came in and, you know who I'm talking about?
Joel?
No.
He was from rural development, wasn't he?
Rural development. Yeah, he asked us what our water rates were, and when we told him, he smiled. And he said, well, I could give you a loan. You know, when we were first in this entire process of Craft is expanding, we need to look at our infrastructure for sewer and for water, and, you know, we were meeting with whoever we could get to listen to us. And Titus was his name.
Yeah.
And we asked him what is the rate, I believe it was $1,400 per year was the average that they,
Their threshold was.
I don't know if it was that high, but it was, essentially it came down to the village was not eligible for a grant. We
Yeah.
could borrow money, but they would not give us a grant, period.
right. So,
And their rate was over 3%, it was pretty high.
right, 3.97, I think.
Would it be really fair to say that because of the weather that we had this summer, which was totally wet, would we not have maybe run into this problem? I mean, we probably wouldn't have maybe run into this problem if it wouldn't have been for the weather. Would we have been okay with water, even with their use? No, we wouldn't have been?
Maybe it was a blessing in disguise.
So maybe it was a blessing that we were able to get this out and get it taken care of?
You agree with that, Tom? That,
Filtration is the problem, not quantity.
yeah,
Right, that's what I'm saying.
Right.
So even though we couldn't filter it fast enough,
Right.
right. And that doesn't matter. Like, yeah, there's more turbidity in the water when it rains, but there's always been.
so as a village person,
So-
let me ask this, 'cause my water is brown a lot, like yellow, even after it rains.
Yeah.
Water's still safe to drink though, right?
Absolutely.
It's just that is still a
There's
safe.
more tint from the surface water that came into the plant.
You walked in here.
I mean, because I know it's like in Gary, when I pour a cup of tea, sometimes it's
Right.
very embarrassing because the water looks like it's all
Yeah.
over the tea bag in
Yeah.
it. But
Yeah.
I'm assuming that when we haven't heard that a no water or no boil thing,
Yeah.
that it has to be safe to serve.
Yep.
It's just embarrassing.
Don't be embarrassed.
Oh, I'm not embarrassed about anything.
Got the best pie in the county, too.
No, and again, I just want to clarify on my part, I'm only here because I'm so dumb when it comes to, I don't know, I'm not informed.
You're
So I
welcome to
just wanted
educate
clear-
yourself anytime. We would be more than happy to answer your questions. Absolutely. Any other public comment on this matter? Brian?
So this is again on behalf of Michael Mullen, Kraft Heinz Senior Vice President of Corporate and Government Affairs. So it's a little bit about water usage and then that ties into rates. Some of this is a repeat from what they had stated like a month ago, working with the village to get through the daily water usages and when to do stuff, so I don't want to go through that. And some of this is also an update that we had talked about in that statement back a month ago. So we'll start here. It says we've also begun storing and using about 50,000 gallons per day of clean, polished water recovered from our string cheese manufacturing while maintaining the high quality of our products that was mentioned, that we would begin using polished water. That's, some of that is in place. To continue, since taking these steps, our current average daily consumption is now 700,000 gallons, down about that 50,000 from where it was in the middle of the summer. We recently received approval for a capital project that will further enhance our polished water reuse. And upon completion next year, expect our plant's daily water usage to return to pre-expansion levels that average between 550 to 575,000 gallons per day. So I can't tell you what day it is in March, Ed, but you looked at all of 2015,
That's
the
our-
average 541,000 gallons of water. And all of 2016, an average day was around that 550.
I didn't expect that. That's what we're out doing.
That might not be a good thing for us.
Just playing with you since you left. I kind of had a similar. Okay, so I say that on the volume, and then the last sentence or statement was going to be this. As the village officials begin planning potential upgrades to its water treatment operation, we want them to be aware of both our future usage and the ongoing steps Kraft Heinz is taking to address the challenges. So you've got some awareness of where we're at, where we said we were going to be doing, and where we expect to be next year on this volume amount.
Thank you. Eric,
These
sorry, I
things-
saw him
These
first.
things make me think, Mayor, sorry. So Kraft is doing a significant expansion at their facility. They have increased their production of cheese by who knows what level they can tell us. They're going to be employing 100 to 150 more people who are spending money at Gary's restaurant. They're putting millions of dollars into the facility so they can use the the same amount of water or less than they were before they put all this expansion in place. So they are investing to effectively use our water. We need to invest also, which I am, as a user of the system, I'm happy to make that investment.
And I'll challenge you to go a little further. And we have a legislator here also. We need to have them on board in any way possible to help us, to help the county, which helps sales tax revenue and those type of things. Because if their usage goes back to pre-expansion, we're gonna be short some money. And so we're gonna have to figure out ways to make this work in a cohesive manner. And I'm hoping next month that the county will take the first short step, or small step, in realizing that this $52,000 that they're taxing us is truly a tax on economic development, and because the industry's paying 70-80% of the water bill. So 80% of the tax, 80% of the tax is being paid by the industry. That's a rough figure. So I'm hoping that the county will step to the plate and do their fair share on that, because it's truly a tax on industry. And they've preached they want us to be fair, and I think it's time that they be fair. And I think that's a small step in being fair.
Dick, did you have a comment?
Yeah, just a couple of things on this thing. And the first thing is that everybody wants to find fault. If the board's sitting up there in the municipal board are at fault for anything, it's at fault for saving us dollars years ago. Because the maintenance and repair and capital in a water system should be about 2% of the work of that system. And the last thing I saw in taxes for that whole system was about $7 million. So you can do the math. We should be doing 2 to 4% a year in capital. Hasn't been done. That's just deferred maintenance. But you are not the only ones. The boards before you didn't do that either.
And other communities around us haven't done that either.
Yeah, but I think you're doing the right step now, don't stand down. Because if it's been 5 years since you raised any rates, the 10% represents 2% a year. You should be putting 2 to 4 in. You haven't done that for that many years. So this is pretty much just a flat increase to get you where you should have been before. So I think the water board, you folks work well together, and you're on the right track going forward with that. The only other comment I got is I think there's a big misunderstanding out there in that water rates is a user fee. It's not a tax. And so maybe Steve would put a little information in about how the water rate is derived at and how it's paid for and stuff. I think it would help an awful lot. Because I think we got people out there seeing this 10% as a big, huge number. And I thank you for explaining that. It's not that big in Blues right now. And the last thing is I encourage you to continue to keep your system in top shape.
Thank you. I personally, I think my water bill in my house will go up $72 for the entire year. We use about $360 worth every 6 months. So that's what I'm anticipating as my increase rate.
360 times 2 is 720.
Yep.
Times 10 is $72 total.
Yep. Divide by 12.
Yeah. Oh, I thought you said $70.
No, $72. Yep. You know, if it means that my kids can take a bath when they want to and when they need to, and that they can play with water balloons on a hot summer day without getting yelled at by their mother. You know, I'm not poo-pooing a 10% increase, but in my house it's pretty priceless for this natural resource that even when the power goes out is still there. You know. Any other public comment or questions?
Just want to, getting to Dick's point a little bit, something you said about the reserves. I don't think that the municipal board or the village board, I don't think the village is losing money on their water system. I think there's a pretty healthy fund balance there. And so I think that there is money there that they're saving for that fund balance can be used for capital improvements. I don't know, you've probably got enough there to buy this unit or be close to buying this unit today. It may dwindle it down to almost nothing, but I think from what I've seen in past budgets, the water water system, if you're billing almost $1 million a year, you're paying out $600,000 to $700,000 for that. So you're making money on the water system. But I think that with the
Not an exorbitant amount, but
Right.
we are able to
I think
pay
the
the bills and put a
anticipated-
little bit in reserve every year,
the
yes.
anticipated expenses that you're gonna face with this new membrane unit, if you do go full time with it, is gonna dwindle those down. But I don't think they haven't been saving money, because there's money there to handle almost any of the other expenses.
You can have more water. I just heard.
And the other thing too, you know, we've also been asked a couple different times, why does the village wish to own this system? I feel that this is an appropriate time to say that with us owning our water filtration system and our sewer system, those are two separate funds in the village. We also have the general fund. But I will also tell you that having these two entities, if we purchase a new piece of equipment that might be quite expensive, it doesn't only come out of our general fund. Because that piece of equipment, that plow can be used to plow out the sewer plant, can be used to plow out the water filtration plant. That new piece of equipment is split between three funds as we see that it will be used for those entities. The street sweeper is how many hundreds of thousands of dollars? 400?
$225,000 on state contract.
Yep.
Okay.
$400,000 if you weren't.
If we weren't on state contract. But that street sweeper not only keeps our streets clean so we look nice, it's also used to flush sewer systems, suck out water pipes when we have water main breaks. So that piece of equipment can be split between our three funds. This water and sewer entity, even though we are increasing rates, if we had to operate solely on our general fund and have the equipment that we needed solely through our general fund, we would really not be a healthy community. We would not be able to afford the upkeep of equipment that we need to run our village. I don't know if everybody here on the board agrees with me, but that is my personal opinion
It's a fact, Mayor.
and how I have
It's more than an opinion.
come to realize that these two systems are a huge asset to our village of Lowville that help us be able to afford things that we use with all of our entities and all of our funds and different portions of our village. Just to let everybody know that, you know.
Other than the police protection, one could probably argue it's really our only, I don't want to say resource, but it's one of the main things that we can say that people can rely on. That's why you would want to live here, as opposed to someplace where you,
Certainly an asset.
right, assets, right, the word I was looking for.
So I just wanted to share that while we were on this topic. Anything else? Any other public comment? Do we wish to make a motion to close the public hearing?
I'll make that motion, Mayor. Seeing no hands in the air.
I'll second it.
Thank you, Charlie. Thank you, Ed. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Okay, the public hearing is closed. Would we like to make a motion, or we've already passed this topic in our agenda. Obviously, it is the municipal board's suggestion that a water rate increase of 10% happen equally to all users of our water filtration system.
And I will make that motion to increase it by 10%.
I'll second it.
For water.
Thank you, Charlie. Thank you, Dan. Further discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? That is rates increased. So this bill that you're getting currently will have the old rate. The bill that you would receive in March, sorry, May, thank you. The wrong M month. Will have the new rate, will be effective for this reading that has just been done to your May reading.
You should probably say that it's effective as of November 1st.
Correct. Will be effective November 1st for all of the
Water use.
water usage.